The history of temperature on Earth for the last 1,000 years is shown by the dark blue line being the average of the peaks and troughs that appear in the background. Since about 1800, the temperature on Earth has increased continuously and it is now an average of 14 degrees centigrade. If we expand the last 200 years, we'll see that the temperature has risen steadily and continuously for that entire period. We now live in the last little piece, circle there, with 1998 the hottest year on record, and it's continuing. This is the problem with global warming. Australia is drying. Here is a map from the Bureau of Meteorology, and I've drawn a line through it where the climate used to come through, or what Perth had 3 days ago, Adelaide had yesterday, and Melbourne will have today, but it's not so anymore. With global warming, these fronts have moved further south, and while there is more evaporation and more water falling, it's falling in the Southern Ocean. Clearest evidence of this is the inflow of water into the Perth dams. From 1911 up until today, the records have been kept, and you can see a dramatic decrease in the amount of water arriving on Australian shores. Sea currents. Sea currents are the major equaliser of temperature on Earth. Warm water from the equatorial regions is transported up into the North Atlantic, keeping the northern latitudes warm as it goes and sinking and circulating around in one continuous belt. Melting of the Greenland ice caps leads to conjecture that that cold water coming in will interfere with the warm water going north, shut off the Great Conveyor Belt, turn Europe into a freezing zone, and have dramatic effects on the world temperature. Sea levels are rising. One city, London, is doing a lot about it. The dark blue lines there are the defences being built to keep the rising sea out. Now, before anyone asks, the Thames Barrier is way down here, and it won't do much about it. They're building 337 kilometres of defences. A very serious solution to a very serious problem, and one we may have to adopt on Australian coasts. Now, I've done a lot of study on the cause of global warming, and this is the real cause. Those polar bears are whooping it up. What are we going to do with these polar bears? Now, I'm going to be very naughty and use Nicholson's cartoons with no permission at all. The chairman is putting the motion to the floor that we save the planet, but not just yet. This is the International Climate Conference in Poznan. And there's our Penny Wong with a hand up, voting along with all the rest. Definitely a Frenchman on the left-hand side. The fellow in front of him had too much to drink last night. But this conference was followed by wonderful, wonderful Copenhagen. And still no decision came out of this, nor out of Copenhagen. Internationally, we are not dealing with the problem.
Wonderful, wonderful Copenhagen, friendly old girl of town.
Now, let me give you my perspective.
Look back 200 years.
The largest machine on Earth was a sailing ship. Follow this timeline forward, and we have the Industrial Revolution, we have the great advances of science and the even greater advances in medicine, and created our beautiful crystal world. We even invented the internet, the largest machine that's ever been built. But look forward 200 years. What then? What will our medicine be? What will our sciences be? And we have global warming coming in between, which well may stop that future development.
Global warming, because we will not clean up our own rubbish.
What to do about it, other than jump off a cliff? Well, the first thing is we've got to spend money. We've got to spend 3% of GDP. That's about a third of what we spend on the military, by the way.
Above all, regulate our own population growth and introduce a carbon tax, one that hurts.
Restructure our town planning and public transport. It has to be available. replace coal with renewable energy sources and especially nuclear, and demand electric and hydrogen cars. Now, we did rise to these challenges in the 1940s, and it can be done again. It can be done. Well, that is the end of the presentation. I do hope you've enjoyed it, and particularly that you will take some action on it. You can look up my webpage, globalwarmingaustralia.info, or contact me on this email. I must thank my producer, Fred Zefas, who has worked tirelessly to produce this epic. Thank you so much.